It was a move I think everybody saw coming, but Bud Dupree is on his way to free agency. The Steelers announced that they will not franchise tag him this offseason after franchise tagging him last year, made about $15.8 million. We don't know what his value is right now, and I don't think the Steelers know what his value is right now. General manager Kevin Colbert said last month that they're going to let Bud see what his market is, and then they're going to talk to him. What is that market? What are we looking at right now?
Yeah, and I think as we've talked about time and time again through our podcast, it's all in the eyes of the beholder. I think Bud Dupree is looking to get paid. I forgot who it was. I'm not sure if it was Mark Bowler or somebody else that suggested that Bud Dupree might come back on a 1-year, $6 million deal, which Bud Dupree replied with a bunch of laughing faces.
Yeah.
No, bro, I'm not taking pennies. I want full dollar bills. You feel me? So I think we can double that 6 million and make it a 12 million. And I think that's right about where negotiations begin for Bud Dupree. I think that might be his floor. But just in terms of the salary cap dropping, we don't know a final number yet. We know it will probably be a minimum of 185 million, which isn't some drastic drop. Like,
do you think it's higher than that, or do you think this?
It might
I've been
be
looking at it like it's going to be 185.
So a lot of people think Dak Prescott's new deal was able to get done because Jerry Jones has some insight on the NFL's new TV deal, which will put a bunch of money back into the teams, which should kind of bring the salary cap higher. Just a theory.
Okay.
Just a theory, but that for what it's worth.
It makes sense. If anybody knows, Jerry Jones knows.
Yeah, bro. If I'm trusting anybody with money in the NFL, it's probably Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones. The man owns a spaceship that floats on water.
Yeah.
I mean, Jerry Jones knows all. He's got the insight. But all right, so.
But no, man, I think Bud Dupree coming off an ACL tear, a lot of teams might be worried to hand him a bunch of money over a certain period of time, because if we're being realistic, a lot of guys aren't exactly productive coming off the first year of an ACL tear. It usually takes them about 2 years to kind of get their feet underneath them. I don't think a 1-year deal is out of the realm of possibility for Bud Dupree.
1-year deal. So 1 year, $12 million. And you're saying the Steelers are not in the running for that, because if they renegotiate and okay, so let's be real. Juju's gone. Pretty much. James Conner's gone. Al Villanueva's gone. Matt Filer's gone. Cam Sutton's probably gone. At this point, I'm starting to think Mike Hilton might be gone, because every day he's tweeting out a new 9 days. And I'm like, 9 days to what, bro? Like, what do you, why are you so certain you're gone? Like, so you imagine all those guys are gone. 1 year, $12 million. You just re-signed Zach Banner and a bunch of other little pieces. Bud Dupree's, is he definitely gone? Or are we just definitely assuming that Alex Highsmith is the guy?
I think I am only assuming Bud Dupree is gone. One, because they really liked what they saw out of Alex Highsmith last year.
Yep.
And two, since they know they have some kind of formidable piece in Highsmith, they would rather put that $12 million to use somewhere else. That's just my thoughts.
I get it.
Trust me.
I get it. And it makes sense. But if you're going to go Alex Highsmith, if you're going to go a 1-year deal, just think 1-year deal.
Yep.
Alex Highsmith started 5 games last season, played well, only had 2 sacks in 15 games played, even coming off the bench. If you could get Bud Dupree back and have Bud and TJ still as your options, and worst case scenario, Bud needs to only play half the reps and Alex Highsmith can play the other half, then that's what.
But here's the thing, bro. You're not gonna bring Bud Dupree back to play only half of the reps. If you're gonna bring Bud Dupree back, you are going to have him start
all the reps. I know, I get that,
and that's where I kind of understand wanting to bring Bud Dupree back, because the pass rush is the glue of that Pittsburgh defense.
Exactly.
And 2 guys on that front 7 did it better collectively than TJ Watt and Bud Dupree. They were, for a very formidable stretch of time, the league's best pass rush duo last year. But it is what it is. If you want TJ Watt to keep being productive, and if you want Bud Dupree to also be productive in a Steelers uniform, you need to keep those 2 together.
Exactly. And if look at the Steelers are all in. They are a team that is looking at 2021 like we are going to win a Super Bowl. Why not bring back the best pass rushing duo in the NFL? If you could get them for one year, $12 million, I get it. It's a hit to Alex Highsmith. It sucks. He's got to wait another year to develop. I frankly don't care. Like, I look at it and say, Alex Highsmith is a phenomenal guy off the bench. He's a billion times better than Anthony Chickalo or Ola could ever be. And he's eventually going to be the starter. So let him sit there another year behind Bud, $12 million, if that's the case, and go try to win a Super Bowl.
But see, here's the other side of that. Who says Bud Dupree wants to come back on another 1-year deal? Why wouldn't Bud Dupree want to go out and get himself a multi-year deal, which will guarantee him a big chunk of money?
Okay, I get that.
Especially with the ACL too, because the ACL is not going to be the same.
No, it's not. But I get that. The Bud's deal doesn't come until after he hits the market. No doubt. Whether it's with the Steelers or somebody else. He's definitely hitting free agency, and he's going to see what teams offer him. But the Steelers are going to know what teams offer him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if 1-year deals only start rolling in, or like maybe a low-end multi-year deal, and you're Bud Dupree, I mean, if the best I'm getting is, 3 years, 4 years, 11 or 12 million a year, I'm going to take a bet on myself, play 1 year at $12 million, and then go make $18 million next year.
That it's not just a case for Bud Dupree. It's a case for a lot of big guys entering free agency, with the cap dropping and teams not having as much cap space as they were probably projected to a year or two ago. You might see the guys take that 1-year prove it deal, wait until the salary cap jumps back up, and then try to cash in on the big payday next year.
Exactly. And that's where I see Bud Dupree. And that's the only way the Steelers could bring him back, in my opinion, is if that's what he's looking to do. I agree with you, though. I don't think he is looking to do that. I just think that there's a pretty strong possibility that he's going to have to, because nobody's going to offer him. Bud Dupree is worth $18 to $20 million a year, if healthy, before the ACL. After the ACL, I mean, teams aren't going to look at him the same.
I think had Dupree not gotten hurt and had he continued the production he was kind of going at, I don't think we're sitting here talking about a 1-year deal. I think for a fact he's going to land a pretty decently sized deal, regardless of if the salary cap is dropping. And who knows, there might be, a couple teams with very, very high, cash money to spend this upcoming offseason to throw money at Bud Dupree. We honestly don't know, but it's all speculation. But at the end of the day, I won't be surprised if Dupree takes a 1-year deal. I won't be surprised if he inks himself a 4-year deal. It's just the only two differences are going to be where Dupree's camp values himself and where NFL teams with the actual money value him.
Yep, 100%. A name that was thrown at me when it does come to a multi-year deal is the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have a boatload of cap space. I think that once it was said, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of sense. And that's a team that's young and they're going to be fighting. It probably meets a lot of Bud's needs. Pro Football Focus, on the other hand, while we're sitting here talking about how he should make $20 million a year, said that Bud Dupree is the most overrated edge rusher in this year's free agency class. I did not look at the whole free agency class. Maybe I should have. But just off the top of my head, I'm pretty convinced Bud Dupree is not the most overrated free agent edge rusher. And their reasoning behind it is that Bud Dupree doesn't take on as many blockers because of TJ Watt. And I get that. But in my opinion, that's just as strong of a quality as being what TJ is. Bud's on the other end making plays because of what TJ does. And that's bringing enough attention so that TJ only has to take on 2 blockers, not 3.
Definitely, yeah. So what I will say is I remember before last season, PFF did not grade Bud Dupree very highly because of that very reason that you just said. We could talk about it all we want, but at the end of the day, Bud Dupree didn't face double teams because of TJ Watt, and Bud Dupree's job was to win one-on-one matchups, and that's what he's done for the last 2 years at Pittsburgh. We could say what he wants. He's able to produce, man. He put up the sack numbers opposite of TJ Watt that he was supposed to. I mean, I really don't know what much more we can expect out of a guy like Bud Dupree, but I will say I think Bud Dupree will function very, very well if there is another strong pass rusher on the other side of him, just because we haven't seen Bud Dupree take on double team blocks. And according to PFF's calculations, I haven't gone through and actually watched this back. But Dupree had one of the worst pass rush win rates of guys taking on single blockers. And basically that's saying a lot of his a lot of his sacks just came from either Watt pushing the quarterback towards Dupree or Dupree's extravagant effort, which is something that TJ Watt is held for all the time, but nobody really blinks an eye whenever somebody says TJ Watt's effort leads into a lot of sacks.
Oh yeah, 100%. And okay, so I'm looking at this list right here.
Mhm.
And I get that maybe the most overrated, whatever you want to say, but there's guys like Aaron Lynch out here, Duke Riley, which is like Hassan Reddick, Isaiah Irvin. Like, I don't know. There's just names that are going to go for the same amount of money, roughly. I mean, Hassan Reddick's a perfect example. The dude's going to get paid if he leaves Arizona. He's going to get paid, and he has done half of what Bud Dupree has done in his NFL career. He's shown nothing. I mean, he was replaced by J.J. Watt. And I get J.J. Watt's huge, but he was replaced by $30 million in 2 years, J.J. Watt, which is saying a lot when you have a 26-year-old first-round pick as your other option. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And you're spot on. The way that they look at everything and calculate everything says one story, and I get it, but the best advice that people like us hear all the time is that you should really never, ever take any of that as the Bible or as code. You know, that's just, it is what it is. It's just their calculations. Do with it what you want. But I'm going to disagree. I don't think that Bud Dupree is the most overrated edge rusher in the market. I think he's going to surprise whatever team's out there.